Hey everyone, is there anybody here with me tonight? This is Pepper. I'm really glad that we tried this evening because I've already had some major problems. What's going on? So we will see. Looks like, am I sideways? I'm trying to read at the same time. Okay, I'm turning around. Is that better? Let's see if I can put it up here. Yay! Now I can see comments of everybody that's coming through. So as I was saying, I had a few technical problems. I'm on my iPad now. My computer was not allowing me to access the camera, so it was a good thing we tried all of these things together. Hey, look at everybody that's here. This is so much fun. And of course, my phone is ringing. My husband is cursing as he runs across the house trying to get to the phone. I have a new book that just went out today. I wasn't expecting Amazon to process it quite as quickly as it did, but it got everything going really fast. I'm going to have to learn how to do pre-orders and get things out there so that they all work, but it worked out pretty well. So I thought maybe tonight I would read you a little selection of Looking After Lindy, which is the brand new one that's out there. And then maybe on my date when I'm on the Dirty Daddies site, I will read from Zoey, which is probably my all-time favorite character of all time. I don't know that anyone will ever replace Zoey in my heart. She was my first character, and she started kind of everything for me. So she's just a sweetie. And I think everybody has one of those characters that they like. I posted a post out there today asking who really enjoyed, had a favorite character that they really liked, that they always would remember. And I think Zoey will always be that one for me. Melissa's saying she's adorable. She is adorable, and she just gets cuter all the time, so that's fun. I'm waving goodbye to my husband as he's going. So he's off on an adventure this evening. I love you too, Sue. How fun to see you. Oh, you love Zoey. Well, that's fun. Everybody loves Zoey, I think. It's good. Okay, so let's go to Looking After Lindy, and I'm going to have to look at my computer. So pardon me if I give you whiplash here and make you ill as I turn everything around here. And I'm going to go to Lucky Chapter number 13. All right. Okay. Josiah raised his head reluctantly. His little girl tasted so sweet. His tongue swept over his lips automatically as his body tried to savor every bit of her flavor. I need to feed you, princess. No more kisses until your tummy is full. Her bottom lip jutted out automatically at his words. Surprised at how quickly she adapted the mannerisms of a young girl, Lindy dropped her head to rest on his shoulder as she tried to figure herself out. Have I always had this little side and just smothered it down where no one would ever suspect it? Lindy realized that most of the time she didn't do what she really wanted to do, but she did what the world expected, act like a boring adult. What if I can really live my life doing the things I love with this handsome man that takes such good care of me? You're thinking very hard, princess, Josiah observed as he reached the kitchen. He gave his precious armful a squeeze before he moved to the adult-sized high chair from the side of the room to the table. Wiping the dust from the seat first, Josiah set his little girl on the wooden chair. How about if Coco sits in her own chair, he asked. When Lindy lifted the black cat to give Coco to Josiah, he took her carefully and placed her in the chair next to Lindy. He turned back to Lindy and picked up the tray for the high chair. Wrinkling his nose at the dust covering it as well, he picked up a sponge from the sink. As he wet the sponge to wipe the detached tray clean, Lindy watched him carefully. When he was focused elsewhere, she softly stated, I didn't think anyone was lucky enough to be little, really. I thought it was just people in books. He looked up at her as he dried the tray. Littles exist all over the world. Only very lucky mommies and daddies find the perfect one to complete their lives. Josiah approached with the tray and instructed, Raise your hands up to press against the ceiling, Lindy. When she did, feeling a bit silly because she knew she couldn't touch the ceiling, her daddy slid the tray into place on the high chair. His hand cupped her small breasts, brushing her nipples with his thumbs. Lindy arched her breast into her daddy's hands. That lip came out again as his hand slid away from her body. Tapping on that protruding lip, Josiah laughed deeply. No pouting. It's time for food, not sweet touches. With a pat on her arm, Josiah turned and began pulling food from the refrigerator. Look at all the yummy stuff that Shelby's daddy stocked in our refrigerator, so we'd have something to eat. He pulled out a clump of grapes and washed those off in the sink before placing them on a paper towel on her tray. Start with some yummy grapes, Princess. Be careful, don't eat the stems, he warned. Lindy didn't think that she was hungry until she popped that first grape into her mouth. Then hunger struck. She ate several more grapes while Josiah made a couple of sandwiches. She held a grape out to him. Here, Daddy. Josiah leaned over to swallow to allow her to put the grape in his mouth. He trapped her fingers between his white teeth and tickled her fingers with his tongue. Giggling, Lindy protested happily, Daddy. Laughing, Josiah released her fingers and chewed on the grape. He cut Lindy's sandwich into fours and set it on the tray in front of her. He opened a cabinet and pulled out 2 sippy caps. Do you want the pink or the green, Princess? Pink, please, she said cheerfully. She watched him as he poured the milk into the cup, snapped on the matching top, and placed it in front of him. Daddy, she said hesitantly. Yes, Lindy. I don't like milk. Little girls drink their milk so that they will stay strong and healthy. Daddies drink their milk for the same reason, Josiah said, taking a glass from the cabinet. To be a good model for her, he would drink milk as well. Do you like chocolate milk better, Princess? She nodded her head enthusiastically. Lucky for you, your daddy is magical. He pulled out a bottle of chocolate syrup. Fastening the top of her sippy cup, he poured some chocolate syrup into the plain milk. Putting the 2 pieces together, he covered the holes in the sippy cap. Abracadabra, he announced in a theatrical voice as he shook the milk inside the cup. Setting the cup back on her tray, he waited for her to try it. It's so good, Daddy. Thank you. She happily took another large drink before setting it down to pick up a sandwich quarter. Josiah deliberately kept the conversation during dinner light. He wanted his little girl to eat her food before they discussed the backpack and its contents. He asked Lindy lots of questions about her likes and dislikes and about her childhood. He shared information about himself and how he got involved in Sanctum. I knew I was supposed to be a daddy for a little girl when I was in high school. I knew better than to reveal my desires in my small town. But once I went away to college, I had the opportunity to experiment and met some other people that felt the same way. My college roommate turned out to be the best friend I ever had. His name is Greg Oldweiler. You'll meet him someday. He's the reason we all settled here in Sanctum. This was his idea. He kept in touch with everyone. He researched land that would be available for us to set up our community. Everyone contributed to the purchase, and we've all lent our specialized skills and knowledge to develop Sanctum. Soon we'll all be here, along with our littles, of course. Littles like Shelby and me? Lindy asked, tipping her head back to drain the last of the chocolate milk from her cup. Little girls and little boys as well, Josiah answered, as he stood to deal with the dishes. Soon the kitchen was put back in order. Josiah washed Lindy's hands and face before unfastening the tray and helping his little girl down to the floor. He led her out of the kitchen area into an open sitting area. Lindy's backpack sat on the coffee table in the middle of the room where Josiah had left it. He sat on the couch and lifted her to sit on his lap. Pulling the backpack onto the couch with them, Josiah asked, "Are you ready to open the parcel and see what Sam sent you?" Lindy nodded slowly. She watched Josiah open the backpack and pull out the battered parcel. It had been through a lot in her backpack. She looked at her brother's handwriting on the front and started to cry as her index finger traced the letters he had written on the crumpled brown paper. "Sam, you really did it this time, didn't you?" she whispered before turning her head to rest in the hollow of her daddy's neck. Josiah wrapped his arms around her and rocked her slowly. As her tears slowed, he carefully wiped her cheeks dry and kissed her softly. "Shall I get some scissors and open it carefully from the back so you can hold on to the packaging?" "Please," she nodded. She wanted to hold on to the last connection to her brother. No matter what danger he had placed her in, she scooted to the side to sit on the couch to let her daddy stand and go find a pair of scissors. When he returned, she scrambled back onto his lap. She just felt better when she was close to him. She watched him carefully cut the back seam of the package along the sides to open the package fully. Astonished, they both looked at the contents of the parcel. And I'm going to leave it there, so you're going to have to figure out what was in the parcel, what Sam, her brother, had sent her. And now that he is no longer alive, that's the last little bit of information that he will send her. So it will be an interesting time. If you've read the book, I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you haven't gotten to read the book, you may want to pick it up and see what's in that parcel. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and helping me practice this a little bit. This is way out of my comfort zone for a person that has my picture with a big hat where you can't even see me, to be on camera with all of these brave authors that are reading their books are pretty spectacular. But it's great fun to meet a whole bunch of you, and I hope that I'll run into you at one of my different signings that I'm headed to throughout 2019. And if I don't meet you then the next year or the next year, because I'm not planning on going anywhere. There are a lot of littles out there that have stories that they want to tell you, and I will be glad to tap them out on my computer and send them to you. So take care, everyone. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon, I am sure.